Edwin, I think that's you, and it's always so loud. Is there a way for us to mitigate that a little bit?
Let me see. I could, you know what? I'll mute it.
Pretty,
I can
pretty
mute my
please,
sound.
because it'll ding me you guys don't know, like it's always Edwin's. It dings so loud. Thank you.
I literally get nonstop texts.
You and me both, right? This is our world these days. It's so interesting how, just for those of you on the phone, I've been doing this 9 years. And when I saw my millennials first starting to like close business on Zoom, I was like, you guys shouldn't do that. That's a terrible idea. Like I'm just an in-person, and now it's like the only way business is getting done. So it's interesting how everything shifts. So I'm just going to go through a few, like obviously you guys know who Ed is. So I don't need to spend too much time on that one. Let me just talk a little bit about the company. Those of you who've had some industry experience, you know that the importance of having a solvent company, and our parent company is Aegon. Those of you in the industry, I'm sure, are familiar with that company. We are obviously under their umbrella. When they were looking to break into the U.S. market for financial services and insurances, they were looking for two things. They were looking for a distribution channel, and they were looking for a brand. On the distribution channel side, we had 40,000 licensed agents, so obviously those were good. That's a good start to being able to distribute your product and service. So we had that, but then they were looking for that brand name, and they picked Transamerica for its obvious household name. It's over 100 years old. It had a lot of longevity. People are familiar with the Transamerica building in San Francisco. It had a good household name. So Aegon coming in, one of 9 companies deemed too big to fail, it's kind of a big deal for us to scoop up a couple companies and start putting something together. So really for us at that time, we were really excited to have it because it brought all that solvency that we wanted, which then not only helps us on the client side for obvious reasons. When I'm sitting down with a client, if I'm going to manage, their entire life savings, they want to know it's with a company that's been around for a minute, that isn't going to fold up under hard times like we're going through right now, right? They want to know that your company is going to be able to withstand it. So that helps me on the client side, but where it also helps me, gentlemen, is on the business side. Other companies want to do business with other solvent companies, and you guys know why. If you're a smaller organization and you've got a lot of new agents, green agents that don't write the best business and business that doesn't stick, and your persistency is struggling, you're on for that bill, right? Those agents get advanced, and if those agents quit, you got to be able to pay that note. If you're a smaller company and you can't do that, then that's probably why you won't have as many companies that want to do business with you, because you can't back the business that you write. So when some of these sort of smaller companies that come up that are trying to mirror what it is that we do, they can call it what they want. They can have all the different accolades and terms and rings and everything else, but what they can't do, what they can't fake, is the solvency of the company. And so I really like that we have that backing, and it allows me to step on the arena knowing I'm not going to lose. I don't lose business. We have too many options. We are dominant in this field, and it's very important when I'm transferring skill to my agents that they feel and know that. It brings them confidence, obviously, when they're sitting down and competing for business. But I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for clients too. And we know we can always hang our hat on that because we've got so many choices, right? I'm not trying to shove somebody into something because it's all I have. So in that aspect, we're definitely one of the stronger companies and choices. So solvency being talked about now, let's talk a little bit about this. You guys, I don't have to spend a lot of time. These are all even inflated now. It's not even going to be, I'm not inflated, but incorrect. With what's going on now, these numbers for debt are going to spike. People are losing their incomes now. People are going to start moving their money and touching it before they wanted to. Now they're paying attention. There's so many, it's such a weird position for me, because I'm like, on one end, I'm very grateful that we're having the success that we have more business coming in. We have more new agents coming in than ever. We're breaking records. These other companies are folding up and people are without jobs and stuff. And I feel awful for it. But at the same time, like, we're thriving. And Ed and I have been talking about this for the last few years, especially. I'm like, when this next one hits, when I say the next one, I'm talking about whether it was a next recession, reset in the markets. I didn't know it was going to be a pandemic, but we knew when it would come that we would be positioned to be able to do better than we ever have because of the very nature of what we do. We help people protect assets. We help protect lives. And we offer up people an opportunity to be able to earn money, whether it's part-time or full-time. Being a licensed agent with our company, our model allows for somebody to come into it. Even if you don't have agency experience like I didn't 9 years ago, right? I was 13 years Air Force. I had a corporate experience. I was an entrepreneur. I had a couple businesses that didn't sustain 08, and I lost. Some of you maybe can identify, right? I took a bath in a couple of those. So it allowed somebody like me to step on the platform and go, okay, let me learn this skill set and see what I can do with it. And here I am 9 years later with multiple offices and lots of agents and helping Mr. Mylett build his. So you guys know the state of the nation. All these things are going to get even worse. So this is the kind of information that we teach. I'm not going to go through this too much with you guys. This is what we're teaching people. We're teaching them simple things like what's a good rate of return versus not. And if I want to get real clear with it, here's what I'm trying to show them. Your money hasn't been making money. You think it's been making money, but probably not. You don't know how to read your stuff, right? So it's losing to inflation. It's losing to fees and expenses that are hidden inside of your 401ks and your 403bs that you just don't know how to understand. And when we just turn the lights on, Edwin will tell you, he has employees. He has a 401k for his employees. And when we broke down really what he had, he was like, I had no clue, no idea this was happening to my employee. Didn't know what I had. Like, here's somebody who's put himself in a position and built a significant business. And like many, don't really know the ins and outs. So when we're giving this kind of information, it's empowering to them, right? We're turning all the lights on. And then now that they understand and know, they want to do something about it. Once they figure out that the banks are making money off their money and how they don't understand what kind of fees and expenses they're exposed to, all these things start to make them feel like they want to do something. We teach them things like the rule of 72. We teach them how to understand these strategies, right? There's 3. They're familiar with the first 2. They know what fixed is. That's in their savings account, not making much, right? They know what variable is. That's what's happening to their accounts right now. They're panicking, trying to get out of the markets. And then index is typically the option that they don't know. And that's, investment with training wheels. That's where you have a floor, right? That your money can't go below 0. But then conversely, if I have a floor, that means I have a ceiling. And in that ceiling, it caps. You're giving up some of your gain to ensure you never lose. And it's not the only strategy. So I want to make sure you guys understand me. And when I talk to people, I say it just this way. I'm not trying to get you into just one thing. I just want you to know it exists. And I have all 3. Most of my clients are in all 3 with me. I have a smaller amount into their liquid money, their emergency fund, right? And it's fixed. I have what portion they're comfortable with putting in variable, and then we secure the meat of their money into something indexed to ensure rain or shine, this is what we have. So we have no agenda for our clients when they're coming through. It's all 3 as they're applicable, and that's where we come in and just give them a little bit of information to help them make better decisions. Then for the tax, right? People just don't know what else is possible to mitigate the taxes. And obviously the more money we make, the more we're going to have to pay in our taxes. So people are very familiar with this one, and they are very familiar with this one. In fact, let me slow it down here for just a second. This is where we get a significant amount of our business right now. So people are usually very heavy here. And the reason they're heavy there is because they change jobs 5 to 8 times throughout their lifetime. And every time they do that, they leave the little one. We call them orphan accounts. They leave that one and they start on a new one. And when they start on the new one, they just forget about it. It's not being managed. Maybe it's got some various fees and expenses. It's exposure to the market. They really just don't know. So when we're sitting down with them, we sort of like remind them. I'm like, hey, didn't you work at a place? And they're like, yeah, you know what? I don't even know where that thing is, right? We start helping them figure out what they have and then what's possible with it, right? So this is quite a big source of revenue for us right now because we are helping people see what it was that they have, teach them some basic things, then they tell us what's important, and then we match them up with a company that will provide and guide them to the goals that they had, whether it's to eventually draw an income stream, maybe it's to have principal protection, maybe it's to go big, go home, right? We have that too. Whatever it was that they picked that they wanted, we're able to service that. And so we help them move these accounts, and those accounts generate obviously a commission for us. So we're doing the right thing for people with something that needed help, and we're getting commissioned for it. So we're very heavy here, and we'll help clients with a lot of that. And then we also help them get into the tax advantage, which is where most people are not familiar with. They like the idea. They hear little terms like a Roth. They hear things like 529s, and they're like, yeah, I would like those things that are tax advantage for me, but they're limited options, right? So if somebody's doing a Roth, they can only put $6,000 a year into it. I think you can put 1,000 more if you're over 50, right? So the max they can put in is 7,000. If they make too much money, they can't participate at all. And they can still pick a fund that doesn't do well, and then they've lost and they've got tax-free nothing. So it's got to happen all just a sort of certain very special way for that to work out for them. Same thing with the 529 for like kids for college. If they don't pick an accredited school, those of you with older kids know, I've got 3 kids. My oldest one's 25, and he's moved out and moved in and moved out and went to school and quit and all kinds of stuff. So kids almost never do what you think they're going to do. So if a parent's been saving for their kids for college and they did it in a 529 and their kid's like, by the way, mom, I'm not going. Well, now there you got an account that you can't do a whole heck of a lot with except gift it to another kid. So it just doesn't leave a lot of flexibility for people. So we're trying to design solutions for them that leave them flexibility. So one of the mission statements that I teach all the agents is design a policy, design a plan that's flexible to see them through all phases of their lives. So when they're single, when they get married, if they get divorced, if they have additional children, if someone got sick, if someone passed away prematurely, we're the answer to that, right? We want to service them throughout their lifetimes and into the next generation. So let me be very clear. I'm not just servicing them now. I have multiple accounts. For most, all my clients are in 2 to 3 accounts with me. And then I'm servicing them even afterwards. Should they pass and it passes to their beneficiaries, I'm servicing that family. So if you're looking at your business, you want longevity, right? You want to make sure that you're not just a one-trick pony, and you want to make sure that you're not just servicing them one time, that you're able to service that client multiple times. They come back to you when they switch jobs. They come back to you when there's a life event change, right? So we're seeing them through and helping them get into all 3 of these brackets if they're applicable to them, right? What should they have in tax deferred? If their company matches or not matches, is this a good fit? Simple things like that, gentlemen, that if you're just even sitting down with your client right now, Edwin will tell you, like, especially with Zoom, I'm getting these calls done in 30, 45 minutes, and we're making recommendations for them. It's happening quite quicker than it was before, which again, really puts us in a good position. So those are some of the main things that we help them with. We can do something called a dream map, which people really like, and it shows them what they're doing and how far it's going to get them. It's software, guys. I'm not that smart. I can make myself look really smart. But it's just software that kind of puts all their information into a report. This is free of access to our agents, an online program through our company portal that gives them what we call that dream map, what they're doing, how far, any gaps, how much coverage should they have, you know, what actual cash flow they should have over at the end of the month. And then that's something we can give them that's a tangible, you know, report for them to see what they're doing and if they're on track, and we can make our recommendations based off of that. So that's just sort of in a nutshell some of the information that we cover. Edwin, was there anything that I went through too fast that you want me to cover before I get into the comp?
No, unless anyone has questions.
Because I can answer on this side. If they want to ask questions, they should do that now before we get into the comp. That way they don't forget it and I don't miss them.
Yeah, you guys, any questions on the rule of 72? It took me, I don't know how many times to get it.
Oh my God, Edwin was so adorable. He's like, so explain this. I'm like, Edwin, come with me here. How are you not getting this?
It literally wasn't until you made that illustration that I got it. So therefore, again, you don't have to be that smart to get these type of things, but it took me a while. So if you didn't understand it, she'll go through it again, or maybe I'm the only dummy that never understood that. Then there's also the indexed. That's a big policy that we sell, what, 90% of the time, Nicole?
Yeah, it's your Swiss Army knife, guys. That index is what people are looking for because it can act for multiple functions. Not only are people getting the coverage, like, let's really put it in perspective. I said it a little bit earlier, but let me just recap this. Whereas before, life insurance was like not something people wanted to talk about, it's all they're talking about right now. The whole language has changed. Now it's not like, do you have coverage? It's who do you have your coverage with and what type, right? So we're in such demand. It's unbelievable. Like, I have so many agents now that we thought this was, you know, we weren't exactly sure how we were going to roll with the whole having to Zoom. They're busy, but now, like, it's weird. Like, even when I have 4 people in my office, I'm like, it's odd because they all can do it from their house, and they're all writing more business than they ever have, because now it's not a weird subject to bring up. So when we're sitting down with somebody and I know they want it, now they also want the other. They want to know that it's something that's going to see them all the way through, that's not going to lapse in 20 years because it ends, and they're looking for ways to protect their money. So it's just completely supercharged our business right now. And so it's more than just, you know, we're just slapping some kind of a policy on there. It serves so many functions. It can protect the money that they can put in. It's permanent policy that sees them all the way through, right? It's got flexibility. Most of the people that I'm helping Edwin with right now, that's 90% of the time they're going with an IUL, and then some of them will add on, you know, additional stuff on top of it. But that main flagship product is that Index Universal Life Policy because of its multifunction. If you were thinking of somebody who has that 529, this is a better fit for them. It can protect the money and make sure that even if their kid doesn't go to an accredited college, they can still pull it out for whatever they want. These policies, gentlemen, don't have that same sort of attachment and anchor like you do with any kind of other investment that has like a 59.5 rule, or you can only pull it out for certain things, right? It gives you that flexibility, and that's what people need, because no one knows. I mean, if somebody has a crystal ball, I'd love to talk to it. I have some questions for it, but nobody really knows what's going to be in their future. So how wonderful you could design something that's versatile for them and allows them to pivot if they need to. Anything else on that, Edwin?
Nicole, how many insurance companies do we have to work with to choose from?
So
And
we're
what makes,
working,
go ahead,
go ahead. No, go ahead. We're working with over 200 providers. And
200 providers?
over 200 providers, right? And so that really puts us in a position, like I said, to not lose business. So for me, I mean, and when you know me well enough, and I don't know the crowd, so I don't want to offend or anything, but you know, like I just don't lose business. Like if you walk into the room and it's me and you, I'm winning. You have no chance against me. I have too many options. I'm going to be able to make sure I customize that solution. We've got the backing, we've got the solvency. It's a position of strength for us to be able to step in there and know we have everything. Conversely though, most people, they're going to go with something that's the best if they can fit the bill. The good news is if I get that client who has some health issues, has had some previous things, like maybe they had a cancer in the past, maybe where no one else would insure them, I'm going to find somebody. We're going to find something. It's like we have the best chance of making sure that even those one-offs that you potentially think, God, we could never get anything for them, it's going to be costly, right? Well, we can find somebody that can still get that coverage and serve that family's needs. So it's always a good feeling knowing that I'm walking in with as many tools in my belt as possible.
So like, for instance, a company like PHP, do they have, how many companies do they work with?
So, and if anybody on the call has worked with PHP, let me just be upfront about it. I don't have any problem with the smaller companies. And Patrick used to be one of our agents, right? And he's mirroring everything that he saw here, there, just without the solvency, just without the backing. It's a huge difference to be working with a company that's had 3 rounds of funding for $10 million when you're working with a company that's worth $500 billion. We're just on completely different playing fields. And because he's smaller, there's not a lot of companies that will be comfortable backing his business, right? They're not going to get into bed with him on this because he has to be able to pay the note should his agents split after they write the business, which is why he's had some issues retaining bigger companies, right? He started with them, but they dropped him because he couldn't pay his bill, for lack of a better term, right? Like it's just business, right? He has a handful of companies that are doing business with him. So of course, that's what they're going to position as the best. They pay, 5 basis points, maybe a little bit more on something. And I'm like, well, you'd have to pay them a little bit more because if they come up against somebody like me, it's 5 extra points on nothing, right? Because they're not going to win. They're going to lose to that. So working with a company that has just the smaller choices, it's tough to compete against somebody like, they have to hope they don't come across an agent like ours. Hope's not really a strategy last time I checked.
Right. And the idea of that is we have so many companies to choose from that we could literally have the customer's best interest at hand, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if we're working with a captive company, they can't say that. And that doesn't mean they're a bad company. Allstate's not a bad company. Farmers isn't a bad company. Like these aren't bad. They're limited, right? They're just limited on what they can do and what they can offer. So if the client never sees anything else, they don't know anything else, right? But if if you're looking to do the right thing for them and you want to be able to maintain a relationship with them, not only in this span, but like into their next generation, hopefully you've got enough choices that can see them through, not just one trick pony stuff that's over after a little while.
Exactly. And a Prime America, my understanding is they only do term, right?
Correct. They only do term, and they have like a handful of licensed agents that are in the securities, and they'll offer up similar things that are, be with the American funds or some of the other new, which we do, right? There's just not a lot of agents that get into the security side. So really then what you're left with is just their product. It's overpriced and it's limited. Somebody from Primerica, God bless them, at least they're getting some service, but same thing. I walk in, my term against their term, not a shot against me.
Yeah, that's just great to know that you have a product that you're confident that could beat the competition. I know that's huge for me.
Every time.
It,
I've never, and just so we're very clear, I've been doing this 9 years now, Edwin, I've never once walked in with somebody who had a Primerica policy that had an expiring term where it worked out. Because the theory on that is buy term, invest the difference, and you'll be self-insured 20 years from now, 30 years from now, whatever. You've been properly investing your money, your term's expiring, and you don't have an insurable need. Not one client. Every client that comes in, including people on your team, Edwin. I have 2 people on your team right now that used to be with them that were frustrated because now they're 15, 18 years into their policy. It's expiring. They don't have the cash saved that they thought. Their health is poor now and they can't get recovered. It's normal. It's very normal from that product. So again, I'm not knocking because at least there's something in place, but you'd like for something to be flexible, something that could see them all. I don't know about you guys. I tease and I'm like, look, I had a plan A I'm on like G or H now. I don't know what I'm on now, but it's not my plan A. It's moved around quite a bit, right? Significantly. So I think the best thing you could do for your client is give them something that can stick with them through those changes, through those phases, and not paint them in a corner. Usually when you're painted in the corner, the options left over aren't great ones.
And when we're ready to learn to sell the policy, according to this, our 6-step strategy, that's a software that once we get all the information from the FNA, we put in there and it spits out what best is going to serve the client. And then it's just about
helpful. It's so helpful. This software, it's, you know, we can't scare people with too much where it's like, of course there's more, but we have to keep it for 2 reasons. 1, the client needs to be able to absorb it. And 2, I have to transfer it to other agents, right? Just when we're in our normal capacity, I have 5 offices and agents in all of them. Like, I can't micromanage all that. It has to be something simple. The software is simple where what I teach agents to get good at is having conversations, because nobody likes the presentation. Have good conversations with people and get data. Your job is to connect with them and help them, chill them out a little bit because they're dragging along all their things that have bothered, the mistakes they've made, they haven't invested, whatever they think that they should be. You're there to help. Now I'm going to take that information and I'm going to plug it into something that makes me look pretty smart, and it'll show me what kind of discretionary they should have. If they're telling me, Mr. and Mrs. Klein, if you were to pass away, would you stay in the house, Mrs. Klein, if something happened, or would you just want some wiggle room to get something else? Mr. and Mrs. Klein, if that happens to both of you, who would be left in charge? How much would you like to leave per child? Like, I'm having these real they're telling me, and then I'm just putting this in so it shows me, and then I can make a recommendation off something real, and then they can look at it and go, okay, yep, that's what we want, or no, can we adjust this? You're able to just cater to them and do the right thing. And still, like I said, I mean, there's just a few things you can do, you guys, in contribution to others that still yields you good quality of life. I love my work. You can tell by talking to me. I love it. I love helping people. I've been of service. That's why I joined the Air Force. I would have stayed in it if it, I just couldn't keep deploying away from my family for long periods of time. Like literally, Edwin, if I was just I got off the phone with my brother a little while ago. He's headed out to New York already. They've already got him on a bird now. To go help with humanitarian relief. Like that's what I used to do, guys. Like, it doesn't pay. You're always in the middle of some kind of catastrophe, right? But you could still be of service. You could still serve people. You can still help. And right now, this country is going to need us more than ever.
All right, Mikhail, I think we can move on. Unless anyone
I
has
had
a question.
I had a couple quick questions.
Go ahead, Brett.
I just didn't want to interrupt.
Go ahead.
So,
listening.
All right, cool. So I'll just fire them off. So I actually signed up from Prime America. I'm in the solar industry, and I kind of worked out a deal. The guy gave me life insurance. I was like, okay, I'm about to have a kid. Why not? So he signed me up with Prime America. I got him solar. I don't know. I pay like $100 a month. I don't know all the details of it, but I did have to get like a blood test and everything done. My question is, when I do get onboarded and enrolled into this process with WFG and the Mylett Management, do clients have to take blood tests on any certain situations or anything like that?
Sure. For any time. So let me just back it up all the way. Some of you will already know the answer to this if you're in, but he's asking a great question. When you get qualified for insurance, that blood test, that exam is good for a time frame. That time frame is usually 6 months, sometimes as much as a year, but usually 6 months. And then after that, if you wanted to apply for a new policy, you would have to get a new exam. Because remember, the insurance company is assessing risk on you. They're going to cover if something happens to you. So they want to know if there's anything going on with you, right? Like, so they want to know if you are risky. Do you have things like, it could even be past the medicals. Think about this. What if you have somebody that has like 3 DUIs? Is it going to be tough to get them covered? You bet. Right. So just think that, like, we're just assessing risk. So, you know, I'm not a high risk. I'm in good shape. I'm in good health. So when I get a policy, I have 11 policies in my family, right? And I'm getting another one on me because I utilize it for the other. I don't need any more insurance aside from what I already have and my business, which is, you know, it's in my trust will to my family. I have residual income that comes in. I want it because I'm putting money in it. I'm using it because Uncle Sam loves me and people like Edwin and Ed. Right. So if we can find ways to be able to save and mitigate the tax punch in the mouth that I call it, right? You know, but for sure, just
I know how that goes.
Anytime you're getting insurance, they're assessing risk on you. So of course they want that pyramid done. And then especially right now, you guys, people are scared and they have that sense of urgency. They get it because if they get that virus, they are uninsurable.
Got it. What if they do get it? Just even speaking of which, what if they do get it, recover, and then want to get
We've
insurance,
got
right?
no data on that. We've asked the same
Okay.
question and they've not, it's
Got
too
it.
soon that no one's offered anything up to us. I asked Nationwide and I asked PAC. This is probably maybe 5 or 6 days ago. They're like, we don't have any instruction on that right now. Cause they put out the bulletins, like if they get it, like it's a wrap. And we were like, okay, well, what if somebody gets it and then they recover? There was no data available for it. I imagine they're probably working on it right now, but it hasn't come down the chain just yet.
No problem. No problem. And then just to kind of reiterate, I know that we scanned through it briefly, but the rule of 72, can you kind of go over that a little bit again?
So anything that you are putting your money in, if you take whatever that rate of return is and divide it by 72, that's how many years for the money to double. So let me tell you how powerful this is. If I have $5,000 and I walk into B of A and B of A is feeling super generous with me that day, and they're going to give me a whole percent, which we all know is laughable because on your savings account, you ain't getting 1%, you're getting 0.01.
Yeah.
So let's say today they like me, they're going to give me 1%. Based on this theory, right? This is like whatever rate of return is being offered to you, I'm going to divide it into the number 72. That tells me how many years for this money to actually double. So if it's $5,000 and I'm getting 1%, 1 into 72, how many years for my money to double?
Say that again.
Brett's like, I was told there'd be no math. All right, let me help you. 1 into 72 means that $5,000 is going to double every 72 years based on a 1% rate of return.
Oh, okay. Got it.
But I don't even get the 1. What did I tell you I get at the bank?
Yeah, you get 0.01.
You get 0.01. But what are they doing with the money?
Oh, well, that would be like 720 years or something like that, right?
Yep. But what are they doing with it, Brett, though? They're not sitting on it waiting for it to
they're investing in, they're making gains off of it, for
That's
sure.
right.
Yeah.
So they're leveraging it. Home loans, car loans, business loans, credit cards,
Yeah.
right? So they're getting anywhere. What's the average rate on a credit card? It's 15 to 18. The high is 29.99. So I get, so we'll wrap it up here. I'm 0.01. You're making 15 to 30.
Yeah.
Nice. And by the way, I don't even get the 0.01 because you know what it's losing to? Inflation. Inflation's eating that sucker up, so I'm not even positive. So it's a little bit of an illusion.
Or you have your little bank fee that would even eat up that small percentage.
They charge you to use your money.
Yeah,
they
no, for
charge
sure.
you to use your money.
Okay, that makes sense. Cool, I got it.
I'll get down on that. That's why I was like, I don't know how deep you guys want to go down because I'll start turning all the lights. Because why? Okay,
no, I like it.
Inflation is for,
examples.
but it's for without including things like food and gas. Anytime you see a rate of inflation, guys, anytime you see it, I don't care if it's for state or country, they don't include food and gas. Why do they not? Who doesn't eat food and use gas? It's like where a lot of my money goes, but they don't include it because that would impact cost of living increases, and I don't think they'd like. See, I'll just start turning all the lights on. Never mind, I won't even go down there. Okay, so now you guys get the rate of return.
Might as well call it 6%.
That's exactly right. If you're in Southern California, it's at least 6 or 6.5%, right? For sure.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm positive 0.01, like what? So let me take it one step further. Are you okay that I do this real quick, Edwin? Let me take it one step further. Okay.
Good.
If I've got a 401k and I've been putting my money into it and I'm looking at my little statement because it's all I can tell when I go read it is what rate of return is on it, right? It gives you like what it did for the quarter, what it did for the year, that sort of thing, year to date, whatever. People look at that number and they think it's real. Here's what they don't know because it's not being disclosed into their statements. Investment is like a gym membership. It costs money to get in and it costs money to stay in. So there's 2 ways to join a gym. You could spend more upfront and less annually, or less upfront and more annually. If everybody's with me, shake your head. You understand what I'm saying, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It costs money to get in these things. And depending on what deal that company, Principal Group, Vanguard, Fidelity, whatever it is, cut with that company dictates what kind of options that employee gets. And they get something called various share classes. And they get sort of grouped into one particular share class because what it does is it kicks back money to the advisor that's looking after that account, right? That's managing that account. Typically, people are in something called an A share. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too much. There's A, B, C, there's a bunch of them. But typically, they're in something called an A share that's costing them low end 3.25, high end 7.25 every time they put new money in. The average that I usually find is between 4 and 5%. So I want you to think this through. If I'm looking at my statement and it says I got a 7% rate of return, I'm like, hey, 7's good, right? If I'm doing that rule of 72 thing, I'm pretty stoked about 7, right? They're excited because they think they're making money. Except what they didn't back out was the 4% or 5% that it cost to get in, the extra 1% to stay in, inflation, which is 4. How we doing? To break even, guys, but it's not talked about, right? They don't see it in their regular statement. They get a little prospectus once a year. Looks like a little phone book with like Bible-sized font print on it. People are supposed to read it and understand it. That's the industry covering its butt telling you they told you how much this stuff was going to cost. It's just a different game, right? And people don't know what they're looking for. So somebody like me comes in and goes, let me turn all the lights on so we can see what we got here. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea, right? And you're like, okay, here's how I can help you. And you're a big boy or big girl and you'll make your decision. Like I have no agenda for people. Like I just want them making informed decisions. You could tell by talking to me, I'm just a no nonsense type of person. I just want people to be able to make good decisions. I appreciate honesty, good, bad, or indifferent. Just tell me what this is so I can make a decision for my family, right? And I think that's all people really want. It's a breath of fresh air from when somebody like us walks in, right? Versus being dog and ponied, kind of talking over their heads. Just give them a little bit of information and then they'll tell you everything that's important to them. And they feel empowered when they have a better understanding because they want to make good decisions for their family. I don't want somebody else making decisions I want to make them for my kids and my family, right? And people want that too. So I know I went down that rabbit hole a little bit, but that's why I'm like, Edwin, is this okay? And I talked to him about that. Does anybody else have anything else?
That's solid.
Somebody looks like
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Charles.
I've been in the industry for about 8 years myself. And
what capacity?
Right now I've been selling policies with companies that have the like easy approval process where they can still get a good rating without having to do blood and urine.
What size policies have you been doing it? Are they under a certain amount?
Well, now they go up to $1 million, and one of the companies moved it up to $3 million.
I know that they have something working on, I want to say it was Nationwide that was working on something that had like a easy approval up to 1 million with no medicals. I didn't see that it was put in force just yet. Most of our policies require medicals, and especially now, even if they were in the works on that, with everything that's going on, do you think maybe that might be something that they pump the brakes on?
They just put it out. They upped it to 3 million in the last month.
And what will they do? Just the medical history?
Yeah, they go off the medical history.
So we have something similar called intelligent underwriting. And I know it's for up to that 1 million. And if they go through it, depending on, how good it looks, they maybe can skip the paramed, but not always. Like I've still seen quite a number of them, even when they go into intelligent underwriting, still have to do the medical. So what company was that you were saying that so it's a guarantee issue?
That it's with National Life Group. And they just upped it to $3 million. It was 1 million before.
Okay. And I usually see the National Life Group in like in the group area. But I have seen the single policies on that one. What do they utilize for their investment strategies? I'm just curious.
Most of it's in the S&P 500.
And then on the policy loan, what are they charging them when they get it out?
The policy loan is somewhere between 3 to 4%.
Okay. Is that static or does it move with the years?
It can move.
Okay. Because that's usually where I beat most everything. Because, I'm always looking again, like the long term. So even when somebody's participating in something like that, if I know I can get a wash loan and make it 0 when they pull it out, like they'll go through extra to make sure that they get the policy that's going to be better for them long term versus what was the quickest to get them on. But if they have medical issues, like I totally get it. If there was a way for them to get around, the med exam, still get the million in force, but then have at least decent. The strategies inside are one level, then the next level, hopefully I'm not talking over anybody's head, but the next level after that is how do they get the money out? And a lot of those, when I open them up, they ain't 3 or 4, there's 6 or 8. That's why I was asking you definitively what that was, because then if someone's been doing, 5 or 6 in it and it costs them 8 to get it out, like, what are we talking about? But I would want to see that definitively too. So they just put it out up to 3 million, because I'm going to call some of my reps and ask them what they'll know. They'll absolutely know. They always know each other's business because they're trying to see.
Yeah, I just got an email from them. I looked at it a couple of weeks ago that they upped it to $3 million.
That was a couple of weeks ago, huh?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I'd be interested to see that was National Life Group. I'm going to look into that and just kind of see. I'm always interested to see what else is out there. So basically, guys, what he's talking about is like, what's the easiest way to get your client? Of course, people would rather not do a medical, right? Nobody wants to have to take blood or urine or do any of that stuff, especially if there's anything going on, right? But I would be interested to see what the fine print on that, because usually if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. Companies don't like taking on risk and then potentially just paying it out, not doing their due diligence. So it'd be interesting to see what fit into that. We, only medical, not have to get only medical questions, not an actual medical for that kind of a policy. Okay, so I will look into that too, but I think it would also, you should go look too. Like if they gave you that, go look at the fine print on that and go see those, get those questions answered. How much is it really costing? Is it zero once it hits a certain year? Does it always stay 3 to 4? What are is it even 3 to 4? Maybe it's a little bit more. I feel like I've looked at that one before and it was 6, but I could be wrong. Okay, anybody else? No, everybody ready for comp? Yep, let's look at comp. Okay. So I talk to people about the 4 ways that people make money. This is when people are just looking at our industry for the first time. This is something you can talk to new people as you guys look to build your agencies and recruit and build a company here with us. Most people are on the left side of the column. We are trying to get people on the right side of the column. I typically describe self-employed folks. They don't always know how to position themselves. They think they're business owners, but they're not. Who could that be? Dentist, real estate, sometimes restaurant owners, depending on how it's set up, where if they don't show up, they don't make any money. So that's this side of the quadrant, right? They're either making money as an employee where they're swapping their time for a wage, or they're making their money self-employed where it has to be them for money to come in. Can you come into my company, our company, I'll say my company, our company, and stay on the self-employed side? Absolutely. The reason I'm addressing it is some people look at our business model and go, I don't want to recruit anybody. And I'm like, totally fine. If you'd like to come in here and just service a book of an existing business, where would that be an example? I have tax professionals. They have a tax business. It's very busy, seasonally. And what they do is they service that same book of business on this side of the court, right? So they help them with their taxes. They're obviously seeing all their their IRAs, their CDs, underperforming accounts, and they can switch hats on that and go back and service that client. They're not interested in building, an agency. They just want to service their current book of business. So you can stay on that left side of the quadrant in our business and still make multiple 6 figures. It's just, you're going to kill what you eat every day. So we're trying to help people get on the right side of the quadrant where it's an actual business. And what I mean by an actual business is that it wouldn't just sustain without you, it would still grow without you. There's not a whole lot of things that you can do that. This is one of them. Because I can transfer skill to my other brokers, they run business, and whether or not I show up, my business is still going. If I have to take off for 30 days, 60 days, it's still growing, not just going through it. They're still growing. They're still writing up more policies. They're still recruiting new agents in, and has the capacity to still expand. So business ownership is where most people would like to get, so they can kind of get the money that they see when, Mylett's on his jets and his houses and all that stuff. That didn't come from him being self-employed. That came from him building a giant organization, right? And we have a lot of other examples other than Ed, maybe not at his level, but a lot of other really great examples that have built very, very solvent businesses in our organization by making sure they stepped on the right side of this quadrant. And then obviously that you make enough money that you can put it into investments, and then your money's making money for you. So those are the 4 ways that we discuss. I want you to visually look at this when we talk about income. We just said it, right? There's multiple ways for you to earn income. In my business, you can absolutely step in here on your personal pen only and earn significant money here, multiple 6 figures here. But if you really want to get into the arena of getting towards the 7 figures, you're going to have to build an agency. There's no 2 ways about it. If you're just one person, how many people could you possibly be sitting with in a day, right? It's limited. And if you have to take a break, that income is going to be interrupted. You can potentially still have, obviously, what's called assets under management, where you guys understand this on the insurance side. You get paid renewals. That's one way to get the residual. But you also here get assets under management. By the way, you pick how that gets paid to you. So when I'm taking a rollover, if I'm taking an old 401k or an old IRA and I move it and I figure out that Nationwide's the best fit, I actually get to tell Nationwide how I want to get paid. I could take more up front and less on the trail, or I can take less up front and more on the trail. You pick. We don't design that for you. You do that. Because if you take less up front and more on the trail, now you're building your residual a little faster. Some people choose to do it the other way, where they get it all up front and no trail. Completely up to you. What I'm saying, my point in that is you could build a residual, a real residual, not reoccurring, residual income, getting paid that money every year, whether or not you get up out of bed, and you just continue to capitalize on it as you build more business, right? But that's always on your personal pen. You're going to kill what you eat every day. But if you get on the agency income side, that's when you can start to see, you know, much, much higher revenue, because it's not just you, right? So if you've trained sort of what I'll call your front line, you know, your second lieutenants, they can run their own offices. They can help you run your offices. They expand. They work and build with you. So it's not just all your efforts. And so you'll be compensated well, and then you'll receive an override of those agents as well. And I'll show you that in just a second when we get into the comp. But the agency income definitely starts getting you to another arena. Expansion income, that is when you are developing brokers. And that is really where Mylett's putting his focus right now. He wants to build more seven-figure earners than any other company. The company he says we're never gonna be able to catch up with is Apple. But he's like, I'm fixing for us to build the most seven-figure earners while we come in here and completely change the landscape of what's going on with this entire industry in this country. He wants to service 20 million contracts, guys. That's a lot of people that he's got. He's got a big number, and he is not messing around with it. And just so you know, we have not even begun to market what we're about to do, because we're building the infrastructure of this right now. He's looking for his key leaders that he's going to be grooming and putting them into a position where they can start leading big teams and big organizations. He's looking for those second lieutenants. Edwin's one of them, right? So right now, when I tell people this is the ground floor, it's only going to be able to be the ground floor. I honestly think we're already moving out of it. I told Edwin, I'm like, this thing's only going to last a couple weeks, and then it's just going to be too big. Already, we've got so many people coming in that are bringing them in by the droves, guys. Think this through. Companies that are on payroll, when I say that, I'm talking about benefits companies, people like Aflac, people that do supplemental, where all their business gets done through payroll. What's happening to that right now? It's a wrap, right? So people now with licenses are looking for a way to use them. So we've got some people that are heavy bringing on droves of licensed agents that are now going back to those same clients and servicing them with more options, with bigger premiums, more rollover opportunities. It's just opened up so much in our industry. So expansion income, it's a big way for you to get it. If you're developing multiple brokers, you are definitely going to step into a different arena as far as of income concern. And then our bonus program obviously is a big part of our compensation as well. If you stay on this personal side, you don't see this bonus income. Let me be real clear. If you just stay on the personal side, you never become a broker, you never develop other brokers, you won't see that. You won't see the bonus income. You'll just stay at whatever your contract is. And I'm very upfront with this, guys. If you're comparing our contract to a GA out the gate at the front of it, it doesn't look well. And that is if you were going to stay a personal producer, I'll be very upfront. This contract's not going to be comparable to what you'll get at a GA, right? But it is very, very lucrative and very sexy if you're going to build a business and you're going to build brokers. But if you're like, look, I'm not interested in working that hard, I just want to hang my license and write my clients as I come, I'm just very upfront with it. We won't have the strongest compensation for you on that model. So let me get into a couple of things here where I'm showing you some examples. This, I'm showing you an example, just like you saw on that last screen. Here's an example of someone's just personal production, right? They're not building brokers. You're going to clear you're going to fall into six figures here, guys. Especially right now with everything's going on. If you're not going to have to swing real hard for that. I don't think anybody's here to learn how to make six figures, but I'm showing it because this is for the general public, right? Building a base shop, that's what we refer to it when you have an organization and you're recruiting people, you're trying to develop brokers, right? So you're building a base shop. You will make significantly more, like I said, because you are recruiting and building those second lieutenants who also go out there and build for you. You have your contract, which is the highest contract in the agency, and then you're getting an override of those you build. What I like, what's unique about this organization, if I were to think, and I'll equate it to real estate. I think everybody can get with that example. In real estate, there's usually one broker and lots of agents. And those agents all work and hustle, and that broker overrides. They're providing the office, they're providing the mentorship, yada, yada, right? If one of those agents decides that they would like to also be a broker and pops their head up because they're a little extra talented, they dig a little deeper, they want to get after it, that broker kicks them out. And what he does, he or she, what he does is he hopes that that person doesn't make it, can't afford to get a lease, can't make it on their own. They're hoping that they don't come up with them and make it, because then now they've trained their competition. It's a very poor model. And in our business, we are incentivized to create brokers because we actually get compensated for it. For every broker that we produce, that's frontline to us, right? I produce a broker direct to me. The company pays me a 12% override, and I'll show you on that on the generations here in just a second. but I want you to keep that in mind. What I'm starting to do here is build brokers, and I'm incentivized to do it because the company comps me, right? It gives me a comp for developing those brokers. And then super base is where I'm not just building the front line of my brokers. When I build a broker and that person builds their brokers, I'm still going to get an override, not as much, but I'm going to get another override on that. I'm going to get an override 6 generations deep on brokers. Do I want to override a person at a large spread, or do I want to override a smaller spread of lots of agencies, right? That's just the different mentality. Of course, in my opinion, I think you would want to override very independent, very successful agencies at a smaller override than one person at a larger override. It's just the difference between making short-term and long-term, business goals. And then building a super team where you've just got, depths and up to your 6 generations that you're able to override of all your agents. So that's a little bit on the compensation. I'll show you more in detail here in just a second. I'm going to finish up with just some of the average earnings that you can see here. Part-time person that's life licensed only. Now, on the security side, you'll see that here in the securities. I don't have a lot of people that are going after this right now, but that might shift again. Right now, nobody wants it because the markets are not doing great. But at some point, people might want to be starting to get back in the markets. Usually what I notice is in each office, there's just a handful of people that have security. Obviously, I have my securities license. I had it for many years. But I don't use it a whole lot. If I'm being totally honest, my life license is all I've been using. I've used my securities license maybe one time in the last 9 months because people are looking for that index strategy. And that, remember I told you fixed, variable, and index. And on that index strategy, you just need a life license to service that for the index in the insurance and the indexed annuities that are very popular right now with the rollovers for people. So this is part-time money that you're seeing here. Obviously, you can see the max high earnings that go through. It goes from, here to very high into the millions. So I'm going to pull up one more slide for you guys. Does anybody have any questions while I'm pulling up the other slide? Because that one gives me a little bit more detail, but I want to address anything that you've seen here so far. Anybody?
Can you explain what a broker is, Nicole?
Certainly. Senior marketing director and somebody who has at least 10 licensed agents and that has achieved a 75,000 net premium in a rolling 90 days. So I'll say it again, you need 10 licensed agents to be a broker, and you need to have brought in at least 75,000 net premium over a 90-day period. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not hard. This is why if you already have if you're brand new, like I was starting from scratch, that seemed like a big deal to achieve it. When you have people that are already licensed and already have, other licensed agents in their brokerages, they do it in like 2 weeks. It's not difficult at all. It just depends on where someone's coming from. Anybody else? Let me show you compensation.
Speaking of when you first got in, how did you get going? Who were your first clients? How did you prospect? Where did your leads come from? All that stuff though as well.
So when I first came in, the first thing I wanted to do is get all my kinks out, right? So I was very, what I'll call coachable to a woman named Dana, who in my opinion she was the most, I'll be real clear. I had never seen anybody do finance that was a female, guys. When she got referred to me by another business owner, I was closing down one of my businesses on Main Street in downtown Ventura, pissed because I had lost some money. Anybody time you're rolling up a business, you're not happy. And, I was complaining like we always tend to do. I was complaining how I'd lost money in another investment. And he was like, hey, you'll love my girl. And I was like, man, I was upset. This is right after 08. I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody about money. I feel like I'm going to punch all of them in the mouth. So no, I don't want to talk to your girl. I don't want to talk to anybody. And he goes, no, you'll like her. And I won't lie. I was intrigued. It's a woman. I was just surprised. Everybody that I had dealt with up to that point was a male. And I'm like, I'm kind of interested, but I'm kind of broke and embarrassed too. You don't go from busting your ass, having multiple businesses, multiple piles of 6 figures to freaking nothing and going like, I'm going to sit with an advisor now. I don't have anything. He's like, no, she's a great lady. She's about your age. You'll like her. Anyways, I don't call her. She calls me and she's like, hey, we have a mutual friend. I was like, no, we don't. He gave you my phone number and I didn't give him permission. I'm gonna be honest. I was pissed off about it. But she was kind enough to reach out to me because he's like, she's a single mom. She's been busting her butt. She took a couple hips in the chops. Maybe you can help her. So I started chatting with her and I was just intrigued, guys. I had a female mom with 2 kids that was making $600,000 a year. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, of course that she had my attention. So what I did in the beginning, I'm like, what do I need to do? Right. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not dumb, but I've never done this before. It was overwhelming for me to even think I could step into this. She's like, it's not that hard. People want to hear from real people. They don't want to sit across the table from somebody who looks like they have no chinks in their armor, don't know what it's like to go through the struggle. They want to sit with real people. And she's like, you're real people. People would relate to you. It took me a minute to wrap my head around that, but she was right. She was absolutely right. You can tell by, you can look at me and be like financial services. I certainly don't give off that vibe. But what you can tell with me is I'm very real with people, and I figured out some stuff, and I want to make sure other people can figure out those same things. So when I tell you I'm here as a result of being frustrated and upset, that's the polished version of it. Edwin will tell you, I'm see how good I'm doing, Edwin? I haven't cursed one time, not one. I did a really good job. Because I get heated about it, because this is serious. This is people's lives and how they're going to spend their senior years and what burden they might leave upon their children. I've been taking care of my mom for almost 10 years now. She's the result of, like most people, when they fight about finances, they divorce, right? My dad left my mom. When I tell you he left her in the street, I'm not exaggerating. So all these things sort of happened at once, and it put a fire in my belly, right? And so I wanted to make sure I figured this out, and I will slow down and talk to a single mom who has $50 the same way I will talk to somebody that I'm managing 8 figures for, and everything in between. Let me be real clear. We have a lot of clients that have very, very high net worths that we're helping turn the lights on for them too. They've been getting snowed too. People have been overcharging them with fees and expenses and not telling them. They love us when we can show them how to pay less in their taxes, right? We have a very, very transparent way of doing business. And regardless of what the net worth is, everybody appreciates that. So when I got started, I just went through what I'll call my field training, my rookie stage, where I put 4 or 5 people in front of her. And I'm just like, this is my girlfriend that I played soccer with for many years. She has 2 kids. Like, what would you do for her? And I would sit and I would watch her. And then she would sit with me and train with me. And I was doing my online studying. I was kind of doing all this stuff to get good at it. And where I got good was just reps. I just sat down with as many people as I possibly could. I don't buy leads. People that do that, I appreciate it, but like I would never go into that. Most of the time it doesn't work. They're expensive, right? Like you're calling the same group of people that they've been calling. We have a market machine, right, where we're generating leads constantly. So let me help you with some of this. Even if it's something simple like we're Zooming right now, and I'm going to do a Zoom version of this, and Edwin's been hearing about it and his group's excited. Actually at 4 o'clock, I'm doing one for you and your team. I'm doing a women's event. All that is we marketed to a bunch of women, which by the way, guys, a lot of money on that. Women are making more decisions financially now. They get divorced late in life. They're sitting on old rollovers. They are wanting to be marketed to. They want to do good things for their family, but they're just not being marketed to the right way. I do a women's event where I talk about all these things. We do, like when we do it in person, I have wine, I have Michael Kors bags. I make it an experience for them. I'll put 200 ladies in a room and be busy for months doing the rollovers and the insurance, right? So I'll market that way. I do a veterans event because I am one. We do weekly open houses where people can come in regardless of their net worth and just listen and learn. And sometimes they go, okay, great, I need help with my rollover. And sometimes they go, I also need to do something to make additional money. We can get them both ways, right? We have a constant marketing machine that's not the cold, right? And then some people, they have a lot of success for cold, but they spend a lot of money to get to it. So if I get somebody brand new who doesn't have the resources to invest in the leads or invest in a geofence or anything like that people are now using on the techie side to get those cold leads, it leaves them susceptible to not do any business. So I have warm leads that I can help them develop with to be able to make sure that they still got business coming through. So whether you choose to do it one or both, which is what I would recommend, because for some people they have experience. I'm not knocking it. It's just not something that I do. Like Edwin will tell you, we've got somebody in our organization that's all they do is cold, but they spend a lot of money and they have it to be able to capitalize on that. You've got your typical person coming in, they don't have $6,000, $10,000 a month to spend in that kind of stuff. It alienates them from being able to do our business. But in my model, it doesn't. I can get them up and running, showing them how to use warm market to be able to capitalize on that and still get a marketing machine that doesn't turn off, right? So the more you get a little acclimated in there, the more you're gonna be able to see that, especially with Zoom now. I mean, Edwin, yes or no, we have to limit how many people we can even get on our calls?
Yeah, we're even a little behind on the F&As, right? Because we have so many that
I don't have enough agents. I don't have enough agents to service this. You literally got me just getting off another call for one of your folks, and I'm transferring skill. I can't even transfer it fast enough. I do group trainings because my bandwidth is only so much. It's unreal, the flux of business that's come in from both sides right now. So it's really a different ball game than it's ever been. And so when I'm doing this whole picture thing, I'm like, let's put it all together, guys. The timing was already good. I had all these boomers that are retiring that the only conversation they want to have with me isn't if I'm dying too soon, it's if I'm living too long. They want help with their insurance. Then you got my demographic that's in their mid 40s going, I can't go through another 2008 and I need to make sure I've got some coverage on my family in case something happens. So the timing was already good before this big pandemic. Now it's even made a greater sense of urgency for us. So you've got fantastic timing when it comes to not only the client services, but people that are looking for an opportunity and a way to be able to bring cash flow in, doing something that they can do virtually and learn from home, right? So that now the timing is just better than ever. I've got the biggest platform. I've got this behemoth of a company that has everything possible to be able to service clients, whether they wanted to go big, go home, wanted safety or security in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is, I have it to service. So we have the platform to do it. I have the backing of the company, and let's put a real big ribbon on it. You got Mylett backing this whole thing. I don't know how many more stars would need to align to make it a good opportunity. But if you're putting all that together, hopefully it's starting to make sense of I think this will never happen this way again. So literally when I talk to people about it, I'm like, it's my prayer for you that you see this and you get it, because I think it could be one of those times where if you miss it, we all have that. We all have that where we can look back and go, man, if I'd have just known more, if I'd have known then what I know now, I'd have made some different decisions. I wish I could go back, and you can't go back because it's gone. It's a wrap. That might be another one of those times, guys.
Yeah, what's kind of genius, I think, Nicole, is the way you guys have mastered the warm market. Because again, the only reason I had life insurance was because my sister sold it to me.
Yep.
Otherwise I would have never got it. I kind of knew I needed it, but it took my sister, who I trust with my life, to do it. And then it took Ed Mylett 15 years later to say, hey, Nicole's going to take care of you. I didn't even think twice. I was like, done. Right. Trust was there. Right. I can't tell you how many people over the years, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, reaching out to me every day, offering me the world. Never trusted them. Right. I ended up doing business with someone that I trusted.
Yep.
Because it's warm market. So again, if you have credibility, if you have reputation, and you're aligning yourself with people of integrity, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And everybody knows they need it. They just don't have the person they don't know a person that they trust does it.
That's it. So this is something that I train, and I train new agents when they're coming on board. I'm going to teach you to talk about the solvency of the company and all the tools and all the, it's great. But at the end of the day, they're doing business with you. You can tell by talking to me, people do business with me because they know I'm going to make sure that I see it all the way through. I'm going to take care of that person, right? It's not because it was nationwide. I mean, it helps because we're showing them they're doing business with you. Your warm market is going to appreciate that it's you that's coming to them. They're going to see it a little bit differently versus if it was cold, somebody who called them on the phone. Because really, guys, where else would they get the information? Who else is reaching? If you don't have a certain net worth, you are on no one's list getting called. Right? You have to have you have to look a certain way to really be eligible to have your leads even purchased for you. Right? So it leaves a lot of room for people to be left out. We're trying to find those folks, and there's lots of them. Right? Let me jump into that other comp for you real quick. Okay. So I can kind of show it a little bit about earning money in the base shop, and then what happens when you start to develop more brokers. Is that okay, Edwin?
Please, no, I do. In fact, I was telling the guys, I heard a great podcast from Ed Mylett back in 2001 that talks about why you should build a base shop. Loved it.
Well, absolutely. You'll hear, then you know this line I'm going to tell you, all good things come from those who build a big base shop. I know you heard it in that video. I grew up with that, man. So just so we're real clear, Ed is the biggest beast there's ever been.
Nuggets.
What's that? Somebody said something, but I lost it.
One of my favorite podcasts. It's one of my favorite podcasts that I've ever listened to from Ed Mylett, and I've listened to all his podcasts. Just tactical, practical, tangible stuff in this podcast that you can apply immediately in any business that you have. Probably one of his best.
Yeah. So I describe him as the biggest beast there's ever been in our business, period. And what I mean by that, where most people will develop a broker, depending on where they're coming from, it'll take them, anywhere from 9 months, if it's short, to 18 months to 24 months to develop one broker. Mylett was developing 2 and 3 a month, just to kind of put it in perspective of how he rolls versus how everybody else rolls. So in this example, I'm going to show you building a base shop. This is where you're like, look, I can do it on my personal pen, or I can start to groom other agents and develop them. So this is, now listen to me. I told you guys, if you're looking at this to compare it against a GA contract, it doesn't look sexy, but stay with me, okay? Beginning associate, when they're green and they don't know what they're doing for obvious reasons, they're at a 25% contract. Remember, most of these people are coming in, no industry experience, all warm market. They don't have any experience at all. Therefore, somebody like me has to step away from where I make my most money and come transfer skill to them with the intent and the hope that they're going to stick and I'm going to get a return on my investment eventually because they can do all this without me, right? So at the beginning, it's a 25%. We make it real simple for them to advance to the 35% contract in the first 15 to 30 days that they're with us. And they usually accomplish it. We give them a very low, campaign, if you will, for them to achieve it. We're just trying to see who we're working with. When you have a recruiting model like ours, and we get off that call on Wednesday again, Edwin, and I got 600 people on the call and 400 are trying to get started with me, how do I know where to put my time and effort, right? I give them little tasks and little things to do to see who's popping their head up to see which ones I'm going to actually be working with, right? So we make it pretty easy for them, and we can identify sort of the group that comes in from the masses, which group that we're working with, and they get a promotion right out the gate, usually in the first 15 to 30 days. That bumps them to a 35% contract. Then as you start to build and you're positioning yourself to become a broker, we give you milestones in that you have to accomplish, to position you. Again, I told you that the parameters on that were, if you need to get wait, let me see that. Is there a lot of Spanish speaking brokers? We have a lot of Hispanic brokers in our company, for sure. We have literature in Spanish. Yeah, absolutely. We have a whole presentation in Spanish. You bet. Sorry guys, I was just answering that chat there. So we have, we're trying to position people into the broker, and I told you need 10 licensed agents. So we sort of reward you as you're kind of building up to that. So when you become a senior associate, when you have 4 licensed agents and you've brought in 30,000 net premium over 90 days, marketing director, which people tend to only stay there for just a minute. They'll have a 50% contract where they got 5 licensed agents, 40,000 net points, and then that's their last stop before they hit the broker. Now, when you hit the broker position, some things start to change for you. So let me go down to this next section here. I'm showing an example of $100,000 in rollover with a 6% commission. You have lots of companies. I just said we have over 200 companies. So you have companies that are going to pay a little less, and you have companies that are going to pay a little bit more. It depends on what was better for the client. So you're going to look at anything from 4% to 7.25% that's commissionable to the agent for moving that money from the old place it was to the new place. So if I took an old 401k and moved it to Nationwide, and Nationwide pays me 6%, that means $6,000 is commissionable. Of that $6,000, what do I get? If I'm a training associate, I get $1,500 because I'm at a 25% contract. If I'm an associate, I get a 35% contract. I get more of that. I get $2,100. If I'm a senior associate and I service that same client at 45% contract, I get $2,700. I see that I know you guys can read this. Here's what I want you to pay attention to. You don't have to be a broker to override. That's not like it is in most places, right? You do not have to be a broker to override. So your newest person, let's just say you are even at a senior associate, you're overriding your people right away. You're overriding from this 25 to 45 or this 35 to 45. So even if your associate writes that same policy and they earn $2,100, you got a $600 override. It's showing immediate, this is good for your cash flow, and it's exciting, and it keeps people rooted. Edwin will tell you, you got to take good care of your people and make sure that they're able to succeed and give them good compensation or they don't stay. And I'm not in the business of training competition. I want to retain people. I want to give them opportunities to win. Mylett built his entire organization prior to him coming back to the tune of $400 million, guys, over his career, doing it an old school way, doing it without technology, doing it with everybody meeting in a room twice a week with a freaking name badge on, with products that weren't as great as they are now, snail mail, everything that you can think of to make it harder to do our business. He did, and still made $400 million before he became an agency chairman, because of these things that he would do. Incentivize your people, build them, grow them, show them, teach them, mentor them, help them get higher compensation so they're excited and they stay and they transfer that skill to other agents for you, so you can start to build a massive agency, a massive base shop, and a base shop that produces more brokers, right? So the goal is obviously for you to get to senior marketing director so that you can have a larger portion of your personal business, but then also to help you on the overrides. But let me be real clear. What that would seem like is if I'm promoting people quickly, so if I'm taking someone from a 25 to a 35%, I'm at 65, now my override just shrank. If I rank them up to a senior associate to 45 or 50, it shrank again. When they become a senior marketing director, just like me, it now has the illusion that I've lost my override completely because they're at 65 and I'm at 65. Except the company then steps in and bonuses me 12% for every senior marketing director I produced, every broker. Okay. So every front line, if Freddie and Edwin are my SMDs and they're direct to me and I promote them into brokers, I'm going to get 12% now of from the company. They're going to pay me 12% of everything it is that they do. When Freddie promotes a broker of his own, the company will pay him 12% on that person. And I still get 12 on Freddie and 6 on the broker he promoted. And that goes 6 generations deep. That is where you start getting into a different ball game. That is because you have a thriving organization that you couldn't turn off at that point if you wanted to, right? You can stay on the left side of the quadrant, or you can step into the right side of the quadrant and build an agency that you build of builders, right? And that they will continue to flourish in your business and giving you actual style, lifestyle and generational income, right? So you're going to go 6 generations deep. Nice override. This is on the variable business. I don't talk about it too much because we just don't have a lot of folks that are getting their variable licenses. You'll have just a handful of people that actually do that. But this puts you in a position to certainly make much, much more. And then that also gives you onto your bonuses. So this first bonus pool, it's 40% that's off of your base shop production, right? You get a percentage that's paying out to you that I want to say that's attuned to 10%. Then you have another, if you start building brokers, right? You've got at least 3 of them that you've built. You get access to those generations base shop points as well. If you generate 6 brokers, you're getting another 30% of all the way down that 6 generations. Starts to get very lucrative. And I don't want to put too many stars in everybody's eyes. I think this is probably good now, but there's even an executive level past that gives you significant override on the compensation annually. Once a year, it pays out to you depending on how much you're pulling in base shop points. Anywhere low end, $10,000 bonus up to 50 million. So it's significant. I'm sorry, 50,000 or 50 million. That would be awesome. Up to 50,000 a year annually, like to step on top of all your additional bonuses. So it really starts to get lucrative, guys, when you start building an agency. So this is why I was pointing that out, because if you're going to compare this against a general agency contract, we're just on 2 different playing fields. This is the difference between you wanting to come in here and build something that's solvent, that doesn't end, that you couldn't turn off, versus you chasing down contracts to see if you can get a higher bid, a higher payout on a rollover or an insurance policy, right? It's just 2 totally different worlds. So I wanted to break that down to you guys a little bit. I hope that was helpful for you. If anybody has any questions, go ahead. Yes, sir.
Real quick, Nicole, I was on a call with Ed yesterday, and he was mentioning how he makes millions off just his bonus pool.
Yeah. No. He makes millions off just the bonus pool, because he's built that's why I'm like, it's a different playing field. I have people who come to me, they're like, I can get a higher contract at whatever company. I'm like, then you should go, because that would be better for you. You're not going to come here and build. If you come here to sleep, this isn't it. You're going to make okay money. But if you're coming here to build an agency, you're going to love it, because you're going to get substantially more. You have access to greater overrides and generational wealth that'll come to you. Then you start tapping into the bonuses. We deed the business to you after you've been here for at least 5 years. Like, there's ownership. Look, I've been here 9, and I really feel like I'm just, even now, getting to this other level. This is like life-changing stuff that you could leave behind. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know anything else other than to work hard. I was going to do it anyways, but I love that I can build something that's transferable over to my kid. We get paid every Tuesday and every Friday. Guess what today is? It's payday, right? Every Tuesday and every Friday we get paid, and this would not turn off. If something happens to me, I've left this business to my oldest boy. So even if I'm gone, it pays him. And he can sell it. He could sell it to another agent. He could sell it back to the BD, or he can keep his license and just keep it. And even if he doesn't write another piece of business, it's still going to run. Like, it's just a totally different playing field than, doing your own pen, just seeing if you can make a couple $100,000. It's just vision, right? And I would submit to you that you stepping into an arena under the mentorship of somebody like Mylett and Edwin, that you be open to that you be open to stepping in an arena like that where you can create some serious game-changing type lifestyle for you and wealth for you, for your family, for all the hard work you were going to probably do anyway. What else, Edwin?
Any other questions? I think on the chat, they were asking Spanish.
Yep,
do we
I
have
addressed that. I addressed that. We've definitely got Spanish brochures. There's a BPM that we have, you know, all in Spanish. We used to do it once a month in our offices. We haven't done it with all the stuff that's been happening, but we're probably going to put one on schedule, which if you'd like, Edwin, I'll facilitate that. I'll get something together if you'd like, so we can do it just all in Spanish. Just like I do that, I could do it all in Spanish if you'd like to.
Awesome. Great.
And then somebody wants the comp. I can email the comp out to you if you'd like. Just drop your email in here for me.
Yeah, and remember, a lot of the stuff's on the Facebook group. We'll send you those links anyway.
Well, are they already coded with us?
They're not. Well, some are, some aren't. So
they couldn't get into the Facebook without it. So go ahead and drop your email on here, and then I'll get you the comp. I'll get you the comp brochure.
Excellent.
Anything else, guys? I would tell you guys, I know it's a lot of information. I'm going to go back to that timing. Guys.
That's super informative. Thank you so much for taking the time out. I just had a question I want to throw out there.
Sure.
For the senior marketing director, pretty much becoming a broker, right?
Yep.
You said the net premium. Now I had a couple questions on that. You need to have 10 people, right? And then you have to
license people.
10,
Mm-hmm.
of course, yeah. Otherwise they're not doing anything, you know?
Right.
But so you have to have 10 licensed people, and then they have to produce, what was the dollar amount?
So your cumulative of all those people, including your pen, needs to amount to 75,000 net premium. So $1 is what we'll call 1 point. So let me give you an example. Oh, I gave you that example of that $100,000 rollover. That's a good one. I had a $100,000 rollover. It paid 6%. That's 6,000 points that I brought into the business. I brought a 6,000 point contract. That's 6,000 towards the 75. The reason I say net, guys, you guys know you could write some policies and they don't stick. People met out or whatever, right? So I tell people, go a little over, go like to a 90, you know, make that a target. You know, some of you have already got in your head, you're like, I'm going to wrap that up in a couple days. The points won't be hard. It'll be the licensed agents and getting the distribution of that on there. So we're real clear too. I'm gonna just throw that in there, Edwin. You can't write it all. You can't just have 10 licensed agents and you write all the business and you hit the SMD. No more than 50% can come from one person, one leg, right? So if it's you need the rest of your team to write the other 50%. They can divvy it out any way they want. It could be one other person who does the other 50, but you can't write all 100% of it. What we're training you, what we're teaching you to do is build an actual business, not a pretend business where it looks like it. Helping you build an actual business because you've got people that can actually write the business with you. You're transferring skill. You guys are doing it together, not just you know, 10 licensed agents and you're doing it all.
Cool.
So
and then I just had one last question, then I'll shut up. I always got a lot of questions.
You got a lot of answers. Go.
All right, cool. No, it sounds like it. My next question was just kind of hypothetical, right? I'm just kind of looking into the future as well. For certain guys, say I bring on 10 guys, right? They're all licensed. We hit 90,000 net for the premium for the month, right? The following month, we I don't want to cuss on this either. We don't fulfill.
You're in good company.
We don't fulfill that same obligation, right? We kind of poop the bed, you could say, right? And then we hit $40,000. What happens at that time? Like, is there a certain period to get your stats back up before you level down? And how would that work? You know, just moving forward as well.
That's a really good question. So here's what actually happens. We give you a rolling 3 months to do it. You don't even have to do it in one. You do it in a rolling 3. So if you got 75 that you have to net, you got 3 months that you got to net that, okay? What they will be looking for is to make sure you wrote what I'll call good business, right? Your business sticks. So if you have a month that falls off and you already hit your senior marketing director, they're watching to see if the business you wrote sticks through. If it doesn't and you fall below a certain, what I'll call persistency, those of them in the agent, you know, in the business know what that means. That means that the business that you wrote stuck, right? So if I have a over 80% persistent, that's right. That means for me, I have a pretty high persistency rate. I'm just under 90%. Just under 90% of everything I write sticks. It doesn't fall off. I know how to write good business. I teach other people how to write good business. When it starts falling off, the company can be in a position to take your promotion back if your business doesn't stick for obvious reasons, right? So they just go to watch that. There's like a 90-day window after you hit your promotion that they're making sure your business stays on the books, right? So you can't get demoted except for that.
Okay. And then
if you hit 90, you hit 100, and then you went back that next month, you're already senior marketing director and you went to sleep and did whatever, 30,000 points. They don't demote you back down. Like, you're fine.
Okay. And then say we take it a step forward, right? And then say we're already in the third generation by this point in time, right? We're at the third generation, then the same kind of situation within the third generation, and then they don't write the clean business, for example, right? Or they don't hit that number on a 3 rolling month period, then would you as the broker level down to second generation, or you would stay at third generation?
You stay where you're at. You don't get, you won't get demoted back down unless you do something bad with the company.
For sure. Yeah.
Say, like,
I mean, don't do sketchy deals. It's not
that
that
hard
if you already have high
horse around. I've seen it happen. I've seen somebody lose a contract for messing around. So
no, I'm not that kind of person. I was just we all know some people like that, but I am not like that. So
okay, but good
not worried
questions.
about that. Good looking out,
brother. Good to meet you. Somebody else had a question.
Nice to meet you too.
Very nice to meet you, sweetie. Who else?
In the chat.
I actually got one. So just for clarification, Nicole, I think I know this, but just so everyone understands. So when you say 75K, right, or 90K net premium over 90 days, that is the yearly contract value, right? So for example, a $12,000 contract value would essentially be $1,000 a month contribution or whatever the monthly is. Is that correct?
Yeah. If we're talking about, now depends on the company. Different companies pay differently, but statistically what you just said right now is very true. If I'm doing business with Nationwide and they pay up to $5,000 on that contract, I'll get up to that. Sometimes when you collect over that premium, because people overfund these products, guys. So sometimes if they overfund it, you won't necessarily get all the way up just because they have what they call a target premium, which is like the most that they'll pay out to you on some of those. But what you're saying is about right. There might be a little bit that you lose on the excess premium depending on how they funded it. So if someone's like, I'm putting 12 grand a month in, that doesn't necessarily, you're going to get the payment on that, 12 times 12, but you're going to get up to a certain amount. It's easy. It's easy for me to teach so you can understand it. It's done for a reason, guys. It mitigates what could potentially be happening with some of these other people that are less ethical. You understand what I'm saying? No?
Yep, 100%.
Okay,
yep,
yeah.
Makes sense.
What we don't want are people that are, it happens in our industry. They write the business a certain way because it pays them more. We're always about doing 100% of the time the right thing for the client, and we want to make sure that we're teaching agents to write good business and keep everything ethical and in line. So I appreciate that they have some guidelines to keep it, to keep it structured so we can ensure everybody's being protected. Anybody else?
There's some in the chat box.
Okay. All right. I see. Okay. Is there a higher compensation if you write Transamerica? Good question. That, of course, is our sister company, and they give us incentivize us to pay a little bit more on that policy for sure. So we'll get 125% on the payout on that. And people, they can write it if they want to. I'll be very upfront. I haven't written a Transamerica policy in probably 3 years. So it just comes down for you. There's some incentive there because it's a sister company, but I don't see a lot of people writing it right now. You can. It's still a great product. I just happen to think that the Nationwide's a better product right now, and that's the product that I'm writing. This all will go back to moral compass stuff, by the way, guys. It really will. I could make more money on trans for sure. But if you remember at the very beginning of this, I was talking to you about what we're looking for in the right people and making sure that we do the right thing for folks. And you'll do your due diligence. It doesn't mean trans is a bad product. I see a lot of my agents selling that product for very young in really, really good health. It's hard to beat the cost of insurance for trans. And they have a very good, their floor isn't 0, their floor is positive. They have a positive 0.75% floor, and they have a cap up to 15%, which makes it a really sexy product for the cash accumulation if they're very young and they're in very good health. What I happen to notice, if you're a little bit older, if you're in my bracket, cost of insurance ain't great, and it ain't great in the later years, and Nationwide kicks its tail every single time. So it'll just come down to that person. You could have recommended one or the other, and the client probably wouldn't have known the difference, but you knew the difference. So it'll be up on you what you write. Go ahead, Edwin. You were going to say something?
No, I just love that. People over profits. I mean, that's what we're about. It's integrity.
Yeah. I literally just got done showing your guy, because I'm training him, how to show that for people. Like I literally we break down when we're sitting down with our clients, people, so that they know what's going into cost of insurance versus what's going in investment. I compared it against the other, and they're just blown away. Similar like what I did with you, Edwin. They were just blown away. They're like, I cannot believe. I'm talking about in people's senior years, not what it looks like, right? Everything looks pretty right now. I'm talking when everybody else is gone, right? These people are in their 60s and their 70s. What does this thing look like for them, right? You got to be able to hang your hat on that, because you're going to see these people all the way to the end. So you make sure you're making good decisions for them. Those are the numbers I look like, not the pretty ones at the beginning that everybody's so excited about. Those are great, but show me worst case scenario and show me when people are vulnerable, what this thing looks like. And I feel good about training the agents on that. We just did that right now. Your guy really liked it, Edwin.
All right, we got another chat. Lalo has a question.
Okay. I currently have my license hung at Lincoln Heritage. If I terminate my contract, will they charge me for advanced commissions? Yeah, they probably would. And depending on I don't know how they advance you. Did they 40-60 advance you? You can jump on so I can hear you. Did they 40-60 advance you? They advance you 100% or just a portion?
Hey, yeah, they advanced me 75%. So I called yesterday. The total balance that I would pay, or an advance commission within 12 months, would be close to 10 grand.
Okay. They're all probably in different months. What would be the were they just written, or some of these 6 months into it, 10 months into it? You get what I'm asking? How many of them?
Yeah, they're pretty fresh. They're just a couple months ago. Last month, 2-3 months ago. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you're going to have to pay that back. That doesn't mean they're going to charge you right now, but you'd eventually, because they'll take it to collections if you don't pay them. Well, if it's a solid, I mean, not all of them do that, but I'm just being very honest. Most of them eventually will take you to collections if you don't pay it, because you got advance for something that isn't happening anymore. Would that negate you from being able to start here and then start chipping away at it? No, I wouldn't stay at Lincoln longer because I was worried about paying back 10 grand. I mean, that would be me. But, you're going to have to make that decision. You're grown. You'll decide what's better for you. I would submit to you, if you're going to do better over here, do you really want to delay your ability to be able to do that, because you're tied? Because what's going to happen is you got to still eat. You're going to keep writing this. You're going to be in the same position. It won't change.
Mm-hmm. Right. Is there any way I could get coded without transferring the license in the meanwhile to start building a team, or does that not work?
Let me think about that for a second, because because what happens is we're worried about selling away. You're going to have access to all my marketing materials, all the strategies and stuff. So you're going to be writing the other thing. It's an immediate selling away, even though you don't have the license hung with us. Does that make sense? Like Mylett's not going to like that. He's going to be like, get them to transfer their license over. They're here using my benefit to sell more contracts here. Forget it. Right?
Gotcha.
So it would be better that you just kind of make a clean cut, and we've parted ways and made our decisions, and take our licks where we had to, and make it up where we can.
Got it.
Anybody else?
So is Nationwide a policy that has the living benefits?
Yep, it sure does. It depends on which state you're in, by the way, which ones you got. But if you want like a long-term care rider on it, if you want, there's some terms that have living benefits on it too. We've got a bunch of different things. What state are you in? Well, is San Francisco relevant? I was like, I guess I see the San Francisco bridge in your background. So you're in California. Yeah, so there's long-term care riders on there for you. What kind of living benefits specifically are you looking for?
Like the chronic illness.
Mm-hmm. There's so many different products, brother, that you can look at for that have little rabbit holes that you can go down. It really comes down to what that person's looking for. But whether it's chronic or critical or, whatever, there's just a couple little, I know it sounds like maybe for some of you, it doesn't sound like much of a difference, but it is a difference. It's a difference between something that's recoverable or not recoverable. Did they lose 2 of their 6 functions? They can tap into their policy and get a percentage of it out to take care of them during that interim. The qualifications for it and stuff like that. Every company's a little different. But there's so many different choices, man. So you got a lot of choices on the platform for stuff. So it definitely puts you in a different arena when you're looking for the bells and whistles that people might be looking for. And long-term care is something that people are looking for much more. Not the ones that need it right now. People like me that would be taking care of their parents are looking for it because they're seeing how much it costs and what it takes for them to step away to do that. And they go, gosh, I don't want to leave my kids like that. So they oftentimes like to add it onto their insurance policies. And it's much cheaper than if they got a standalone that they may or may not have been using, right? To put it as a bell and whistle on an insurance policy.
Okay, great.
Anything else, guys? exciting conversation, long-term care, like talking about insurance, right? This is how we roll.
Great call.
Hey, Nicole, is there a back office or anything to like track
Oh
policies
my
and track production
goodness.
and ranks and all that?
Oh my goodness. I'm glad you asked. Who is that that's asking me right now? Let me
This
see.
is Stephen Cohen. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Stephen. Yes, ma'am. That's me. I know my voice gets a little deep sometimes, but yes. So our platform is really robust, guys. We've got so much on our platform to help you. And then you're in charge of what you use on your day-to-day for inside your offices. I see people utilize different systems for tracking their own business internally, but you, just so you know, your code handles all that. When you get coded with us and you get that code, it's how we track your metrics. It's how we track your payroll. It's how we track all your overrides for all your people. If anybody's ever owned a business, Edwin will tell you payroll is a pain in the ass, and it's all handled for you. You got to work. You don't have to worry about anything. People's tax stuff, or you don't have to worry about none of that stuff. It's all taken care of. So you've got payroll in a box. You've got legal and compliance on a box. You've got reports that you can pull and run and see what your downlines are doing, who's got the most people coming in, what your persistency is. We've got a whole pretty robust system on the back, and it's getting better every day because somebody like me is putting a lot of, put a lot of stress on them to change, because Mylett's bringing in a lot of new agents, and they're literally having to shift how they've been doing things to accommodate all we've been bringing in. So it's nice because I've been able to, I don't know, I'm having a really good time with it. I'm like, I would like it to look like this. So it's been fun because when you do a lot, they listen to you a little bit differently. And Mylett's got everybody running around in that home office right now. So it's a pretty exciting time for us. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. It's 1:40. Where are we at? Did I put anybody to sleep yet, Edwin?
No, you did a great job. I love the detail of this call. Again, thank you for taking the time. That was a good hour and 40 minutes that you gave us your time. So I know normally the calls are normally an hour, and you gave us an hour and 40. So, and everybody stayed on the line. So call couldn't have been any better.
You guys were asking questions. I didn't want to get off without, giving you the answers. And I apologize too. I missed, Terrence was like, hey, we got to jump on this with Ed. And I'm like, oh, something must have changed. It was a totally different call. I was thinking I was like, that's weird. I thought we were on for ours. And then I was like, wait, am I supposed to be on or not still? So anywho, I'm here for you. Let me know what else that you need from me. I think you guys got enough to be able to make some decisions here. I would tell you, this is the type of decision that you should not take lightly. This is an opportunity for you to work with somebody like him and somebody like Mylett in a time that's never, in my opinion, going to be repeated. So I hope you guys take that and take it very seriously, and I hope to see you out there.
Thank you, Nicole. And I was just going to end the call by saying, Charles, who's asking the question, he's a perfect example. He has 10 licensed agents. So him just coming on board will be an SDM immediately, right? Because
SMD, yeah, absolutely.
Now he just has to write the policies, right?
Yep.
But one of the things that I'm really excited about, you guys, is very similar to what I already do in my business, the home security business. And this is in the same wheelhouse. And that's why I'm so excited for all of you guys on this call. See, in my business, my job, I'm what's called a master dealer. So kind of like a WFG, but a way smaller WFG. But people that have their own business want to work with me because I get to take care of all their operations. All they have to do is the sales, the recruiting, the training, and the leading. But in addition to that, they get to piggyback off my culture. They get to piggyback off my influence. And let me explain to you what that means. I have guys that do 1,000 accounts a year. They sell 1,000 accounts a year. And sometimes those guys try to recruit a guy that's doing a sales team. So it's an owner that has his own business doing 1,000 accounts a year. He tries to recruit a sales team that's doing 2,000 accounts a year. What do you think that sales team tells that owner that's doing 1,000 accounts a year? He says, you're too small. Me coming to your business, you won't be able to take on my business, right? So what does that owner do? That owner joins forces with me. Why? Because now he can piggyback off my culture. He can go knock on that guy, on that sales team's door and say, hey, you want to join our team? We do 40,000 accounts a year. You do 2,000. we can help you double, quadruple that. Now, because of my influence, this guy, this owner, previous owner, is able to recruit a sales team he was never able to recruit on his own. That's the beauty of this, right? That's leveraging Ed Mylett. That's leveraging myself. That's leveraging Steve. That's leveraging a lot of you guys that have done pretty well for yourself in your business, right? I'll use Charles as an example. He's traditional. He was an SMD at PHP, and left that to do more the traditional way. But now I'm like, dude, we can scale this thing like crazy. I know how to scale. You know the business. I have literally 20,000 alarm sales that I sell every year minimum. This year we're on pace to doing 30. Like, you can help me with this lead base. He's got 10 agents that now can crush that for me, right? In addition to me helping him scale. There's just so many people that we can serve doing this. And that's the beauty, is somebody that's part-time, even if they wanted to start their own business, it's hard for them to have influence over people, because typically a person that's doing 9 to 5, it's just going to have a hard time influencing people to come work for them, right? It's going to be too new. You're going to be too small. But now when you put an engine like Mylett Management behind you, an engine like my engine, again, Zane, all these guys that are on this call, like, there's just no way we could screw this up, guys. So I wanted to share that experience with you guys, because I know a lot of you guys are door to door. Hopefully that turns on the light for you guys on the stuff that we can do. These guys, Nicole, Ed, they're pros at scaling, right? We're pros at scaling, and now we have the perfect product to scale with. So super excited about it. What we got to do next is, anybody that's on this call, please text whoever told you to be on this call your code. Those of you that you guys should be sending your people the 5 steps. Hopefully you guys already have the 5-step system that we created. We want to do this within 48 hours. I said this at the beginning of the call before Nicole came on, right? Which is get coded, register for your courses so you can get licensed. The third one is join the Facebook group, which on the Facebook group, they're going to ask you for a code. The fourth one is let's get started sheet, which is a real quick sheet. And then the 5th step is the F&A. We want to get this stuff done within 48 hours. The other thing, Nicole, is it a 10 to 5:30 program for Ed Mylett's house? Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Nicole.
Yeah. It's actually, sorry about that. I did that so you wouldn't hear me. It's actually less than that. It's 5.5. I told him I thought it should be more, because I don't think we're going to fit that many people at his house. But he's like, that's why I have a beach in the front, girl. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, if you want to have,
Wow.
must be nice. 5.
Yeah.
So 5.30, guys, just so you know, that means you would have 5 business partners, and you write 5 pieces of business. You help 5 families any way you want to carve it. It's not a production minimum. He just wants to see who he's dealing with here and who wants to pop their head up. That's why I told him, like, it's a ridiculously low number. Some of you on the call are like, I already have 10 people. So then I would say, if it's easy, then get as many as your people qualified as possible. To be clear, we don't know when we're going to be able to gather again, but when we do, there's going to be a massive freaking party at Mylett's house, because it's going to be, and I don't even know if it's going to be pizza or like tacos. I don't think it matters, right? I think everybody would like to just be there in his proximity, on his squad, showing that you're a front runner, showing that you've got some leadership and you're popping your head up. This is how we identify where we get, like I said, we got so many people coming through. Edwin will tell you, man, we're trying to figure out who the looky-loos are and who wants to come here and build a business, like build a substantial business, right? That's what we're trying to do. And just the 5.30 just kind of pops your head up so we can see who we're dealing with. So I would submit to you that that's probably something for most of you on here. It's going to be a wrap. It's going to be easy. Some of you don't really understand it. You want to get on it. Let's just get started with it. We got to get your code. We got to get you in pre-licensing if you don't have a license. If you do, you're going to skip to that 3rd step, which is just once you get that code, going onto the Facebook group, that's a link. He's going to show you all. In fact, do you want me to just put the link up here for you? Okay, please. Let me go grab that for you. But it's just going to allow you to get moving on this thing and put yourself in a position where you can kind of fast track. Like I always tell people, I hate rookie stage. I don't know about you, but I hate it. I don't like being a rookie, so I don't want to be there for a real long time. So I'm real good at getting through the pieces that they tell me. I'm very, what I'll call coachable, right? I get moving fast so I can get out of the rookie stage and get into the building stage and start getting to the profitable side of this. So go to that website. You would get your code. You would get in pre-licensing if you're not already licensed. Once you get your code, you're going to go request at the face. All the links are in there. You're going to request to go to the Facebook group. On that Facebook group, guys, I've got tons of video. Well, not tons. I've got a lot of videos for you to be able to watch that show you things like how I broke down compensation and promotion, video on it. How to understand, how to submit business, how to do a napkin presentation, my little 6-minute presentation that I do that's very duplicable. There's a lot of videos on just basic stuff with us and more coming. And so we're very clear. This is the primitive version because like I've been telling people, we're at the ground floor of this, right? We're building this thing as we fly it. We've got negotiations now with very robust LMS systems that are going to be very interactive. It's going to be so fast to get your people trained. I'm very excited. We have 2 systems that we're looking at, one of them being Lightspeed with Bradley, beautiful, robust system. It's going to be super easy to get your folks going and independent. So you guys are going to be real excited with the tools that we're putting in place for you. But for now, go to that Facebook page. After you code, you need a code, and you need the code of the person who recruited you here. So if it's Edwin, then you need Edwin's code. If it's Zane, you need Zane's code. So you need that to be able to get your code. Make sure you have that. If you don't have that, you text them right now and tell them I need your code so I can get going here. But that's the link. If you need anything else from me, Edwin, just give me a call, man.
Nicole, one more question.
Awesome.
Sorry,
Go
while
ahead.
we have you. Sorry, more of a technical question. So obviously for a lot of us that are new, we don't have our licenses. If we recruit someone that has their life license and we want to start putting policies through to obviously help us rank up and get to the next level, what would be the best way to structure that? Is it possible if someone is in our organization, if we give them the policy anywhere in the organization, they can sell it, we still get the credit and then figure out a way to split the compensation?
That's exactly it. You can't get compensated without the license, but let me be very clear. Everything that you generate goes towards your promotion, everything. So if you're trying to get to that 35 and 45%, build your agency so that happens fast. You'll never even see a 25% contract because when your license comes in, you'll have already hit the 35 and 45% promotion. I never got paid off a 25% contract. I didn't care that I wasn't getting paid because I was getting my team built and I was sitting with people like that gal that I explained to you. Her name was Dana. There was some reciprocity going on there. I wanted to learn from somebody who was making that kind of money to teach me. So when I sat with her and I told you it was like kind of my rookie stage, I would bring 8 people to sit with her and I wanted to see what it was that she was doing. I built a team and she helped me because I was naive and dumb and didn't know what I was doing, but she helped me build that organization. I never saw a 25% contract. I was already ranked up. I had already gotten my promotions before the license came in. Then when it came in, I was already overriding and I was getting more of the business that I was writing.
Got it. So just to clarify, whoever's the one that sells the actual policy with their pen, that's the rank that you're paid out on?
That's what they're going to get paid on. And if they're in your downline, you're still getting credit towards your promotions. You can't get paid because you don't have the license, but your person still gets paid and that credit all still goes towards your promotion.
Got it.
Cool. Edwin, anything?
No, that's it.
I had one last one. My bad. All right, cool. I'm just thinking ahead as well. For example, if you could break this down, I don't come from this industry, but say, Steven brought me in. This is real example. Cohen brought me in right there. And then say I bring in, a guy that's a heavy hitter that has a big influence over a lot of people, right? He brings in, now he's the only guy that I brought in so far, right? Mm-hmm. And he's the heavy hitter. Now he brings in 25 people. How does that actually work in regards to breaking down on these generations and all these levels?
So that person's going to help you get to that next level because he's in what's called your base shop. You want that. You want a lot of activity in your base shop because all those points are cumulative, not just your own pen. It's cumulative. So you want some hustlers. You're going to have what I'll call your order takers, and those in the industry know what I'm talking about. They're not good generating, but they're real good closing things up for you. So if you have somebody that's an influencer, somebody like yourself, you tell by talking to you, man, like you're good with people, you get down to the details. I can tell you've got that little charisma to you. So you're good at getting people to move. Then you have people that aren't good at getting people to move, but they're real good at writing the orders, helping them with the insurance and breaking down the details. You're going to need all of it. Once you start to see you've got some diversity, you start to figure out how to place them and what positions, like my field trainers versus my marketers and my promoters, right? They start to kind of figure it out and all can benefit because it's all in your base shop. And so if you get somebody who's an order taker, couldn't he still recruit somebody that's a marketer and it still help him? Absolutely. For you, if you've got your influencer, but they're like, hey, I don't really want to sit down and do well, then recruit somebody that's a good order taker for them so they can still benefit. And it's all in your base shop. You're getting the benefit of all of that because it's moving you up in rank for points because everything's cumulative, right? And then it's also giving you, more overrides the more people that you're getting in there. If they got 40 people underneath them, that's a lot of overrides, brother.
All right, cool. All right, good looking out. I'm done. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right, Edwin.
Thanks for your time.
You're welcome. If you need me, Edwin,
Yeah,
holler.
Nicole, real quick, the BPM tomorrow, do you want to explain that? 6 o'clock?
So if you want to be on
or-
that, you're somebody's guest on here. Here's what I'd like to see. Ed doesn't want you on there unless you're coded and you've gone through what he just asked you to do over the next 48 hours, but you've got less time because it's tomorrow night. This ain't hard. People are getting through this in an hour. Okay, you go in, get your code, get your pre-licensing. If you're already licensed, you're already done with that filter. Get your FB group, get your Let's Dialed In filled out, and then get back in with somebody to get your FNA scheduled. You got to go through that in the next 24 hours and then you're golden. And then you can have 2 people on that call. He's limiting to that because he's trying to make sure we're getting through the looky-loos. He wants to deal with the people who are serious about this business, right? So this isn't a lot that I'm asking for you to do. People are doing it within an hour. I'm sure you can do it when you have 24. Go through that, be in contact with either Zane or Edwin, whoever directly invited you on here, and let them know when you're going through that process so they can ping me to go check and make sure. One of my assistants is pulling those reports for me twice a day because we got a lot coming in. And if you can do that, then you can have 2 people on that call. And I would submit to you that you would have your best candidates on there because it'll be me doing the presentation, teeing it up, and Mylett closing it out. So get your tough cookies on that one so they can be impressed and see the business and go ahead and build your business sooner now rather than later. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, you guys have a great afternoon.
Yes. Bye-bye.